Previously on Mechanical Arms, after infiltrating Hikaru's school by transferring there as a student, meanwhile, Tus and Wanner, agents from the Kagami group, attack Hikaru to try and take the trigger arm, but Hikaru, Alma, and Aki manage to defeat them. Hikaru is then taken to Arms HQ, an organization that helps Mecha Arms in need. There, he's told they have no need for him, only Alma. How will this affect Hikaru, and what are Arms' plans for him? We find out that, and much more, in this episode of Mechanical Arms. Episode number 3 begins with a Mecha Arm user walking through an alleyway when he encounters the neon-haired boy. We're then back at Arms headquarters, where Quen, an Arms expert, pulls up a chart showing how little Arbitrium Hikaru had compared to what's needed for a typical Mechanical Arms user. Arms leader Algis says it was Hikaru who awoke Alma, but Fist, his mechanical arm, reminds them that Alma had lost his memories and was also awkwardly derised to Hikaru's hoodie. That's when Quen tells Hikaru they need Alma to stay with him for now, but he himself was of no use to them because he was powerless. Alma tries to stand up for Hikaru, saying he is the reason why he is here right now. Quen answers that's precisely the problem. Aki joins in and tells them that Hikaru possesses the power to draw out Alma's strength and requests she be able to train him. We're then at Hikaru's school rooftop, where Alma is busy working out while Hikaru lies on top doing nothing. Hikaru asks how exactly this is going to help him. Aki, eating her meal that's big enough to feed a family, tells him Arbitrium is about spirit, and that he should just psych himself as much as he can if he wants to help Alma. Aki then gets a call from HQ, summoning them all in right away. There, they all gather around an unconscious Mecha Arms user with strange red marks all over his body and his mecha removed. Algis explains that this is the third such attack this week, and that they suspected someone new from the Kagami group was behind this. Aki's Mecha Arm explains that they need to get their Mecha Arms quick because a Mecha Arms user dies within a few days after someone forcibly removes their Mecha Arm. Algis's mechanical arm, Fist, tells Hikaru they didn't fully understand what Arbitrium was yet, but knew it gave humans supernatural powers like extraordinary physical abilities. Aki mentions something about a worm-type mecha arm when Algis tells her to not let her personal feelings interfere with this mission. Hikaru tries to ask her about it, but she doesn't budge. Over at the Kagami building, Nose Mustache Guy is furious at Jun, the neon-haired kid from earlier who had stolen the artificial mecha arms. Tudo, the head of the White Ravens, tells their president to let him handle the mission. Out with Aki, who seems to be searching for something, Hikaru asks her if she is searching for clues for the case involving the worm-type mecha arms, and if so, why. At the same time, they notice some bikes driving close by. They come across the White Ravens, who were busy looking for Jun, who turns out to be the little brother of President Kagami. Aki tells Hikaru to stay by her side and hide and proceeds to ask the White Ravens if they knew about the worm-type mecha arm. Hearing this, Imada of the White Ravens says they can't let her go since she knew about that mecha arm. Aki calls her Mecha Arms and in an instant wipes out all the attacking White Ravens. She knocks away Hikaru in the process and has the audacity to tell the poor guy to stay by her side. Trying to catch his breath again after getting the wind knocked out of him by Aki, Hikaru notices Jun hiding behind one of the containers. Hikaru tells him to hide, but he runs away, and Hikaru chases him. Imada, transforming his mecha arm into a gigantic mecha bike, leaps over Aki and his subordinates to chase after. On the other hand, Hikaru stands between the White Ravens and Jun, when suddenly one of them snaps and attacks Hikaru, but Alma blocks it. Then the mecha bike-riding Imada arrives at the scene, and amongst all this commotion, Jun disappears. Imada recognizes Alma as the trigger arm, and thinking he's about to score big by returning him, he bulldozes his subordinates, chasing after Hikaru and Alma. While Imada tries to keep hold of Alma, who squirms in his hands like a lively fish, a boiling Aki drops in, knocking the mecha arm bike over in her rage and almost impaling Hikaru with it. Imada promises Aki he doesn't know anything about the worm-type mecha arm, while crying like a little baby as Aki tortures him with her death stare. Aki then questions Hikaru for not staying close to him, even though she had told him. Hikaru tries to tell about the little boy, but after Aki and her mecha arm refuse to hear him out, he storms away from the place. As Hikaru leaves, Jun tries to utilize this opportunity to take Alma from him, but gets stopped in his tracks by Aki. As Jun activates his mecha arm, Aki starts overflowing with rage, thinking he's the worm-type mecha arm user. Meanwhile, as Alma is trying to convince Hikaru to go back and apologize to Aki, Hikaru's phone buzzes. It's a photo of Aki, lying unconscious on the ground. Hikaru then receives a phone call from her. It's Jun. He tells him to bring the trigger arm, aka Alma, to a location he then sends if he wants to save Aki. Hikaru is then on call with Algis, informing him about what just happened. Algis tells Hikaru to stay put and do nothing while they send over a new bodyguard, as going to the enemy is exactly what they want. Hikaru starts getting consumed by bitterness over his blatant uselessness, but Alma tries to convince him otherwise. Hikaru realizes it wasn't about him, it was him working alongside Alma that could prove his worth. Trusting this, he goes to the location by himself. Hikaru immediately recognizes Jun from earlier. Alma announces they're here to take back Sinus and Dex, Aki's mecha arms. Jun tells them he couldn't care less about them. As he starts activating his artificial mecha arm, he tells Hikaru to show him the power of the trigger arm. Jun then launches a barrage of attacks on Hikaru. As he's barely able to evade them, Jun laughs in hysterics, amused by Hikaru's struggle, calling Hikaru a worthless wimp. Yelling he's already aware of all that, Hikaru charges forward and punches Jun, pushing him back slightly. Infuriated by this, Jun surrounds Hikaru with a cage made by his mecha arms and grabs him. Jun then electrocutes Hikaru, rendering him weak, and separates Alma from Hikaru. When it looks like there's no hope left, Alma suddenly awakens and pushes Jun down. Crawling towards Hikaru, Alma desperately tries to get him to wake up. As Jun watches on in astonishment that a mecha arm was able to operate without its user's body. Mustering up everything he had left, Hikaru reaches out to Alma and grabs him, triggering a glorious reaction, which gives them an awesome new form. They penetrate through Jun's attacks like a bullet through sheets of paper, finishing him off with a magnificent blazing strike. As Alma tells Hikaru he told him so, Tudo appears. Hikaru tenses up to fight him, but Tudo tells him there's no need, as he was here just to collect Jun. An exhausted Hikaru desperately tells Tudo to return Aki's mecha arms. As Tudo thinks about fighting Hikaru, Jun stops him by telling him Hikaru was his target. Tudo gives Hikaru Dex and Sinus and leaves before telling him to take good care of his trigger arm till they meet again. It's the next morning, and Hikaru is on the school rooftop again, sewing his hoodie that Jun had torn yesterday. Aki pops up and sits next to him. She tells him that the reason she was so bent on looking for a worm-type mecha arm wielder was because it had killed her family, although Jun was not him. Aki then does something, perhaps something even she didn't know she could do. She smiles and thanks Hikaru for saving her. Embarrassed by this, Aki snatches Hikaru's hoodie and Alma and starts sewing it viciously. The rom-com-obsessed Shirayama arrives with a box full of cookies for Aki. Seeing new developments between the two, she runs away in excitement. Aki flocks to the fallen cookies immediately like a vulture. Alma tells Hikaru to hurry before she devours them all. Hikaru finally screams out in frustration, fed up with all the crazies around him. But before the episode ends, we see a mysterious orange-haired mecha-wielding girl looking at a family picture with two twin girls, one of them resembling Aki. Stay connected, like and subscribe for more fun recaps on one and only Endless Recaps.